Today, we travel all the way to Lamu, which is past Malindi, to a very old historical town in Kenya that is also a holiday destination straight out of your dreams, where a very unfortunate incident took place recently that has just captured the hearts and imagination of Kenyans. This is, of course, the story of billionaire heiress Tecra Muigai and a humble 51-year-old fisherman called Lali Omar. A very unlikely couple. Oops, did I say unlikely? But don't they say love is blind? That the arrows of Cupid can land absolutely anywhere, in the most unlikely of places. I know this is a story many of you have been waiting for on this channel, and we shall go right into it shortly. But first, allow me to say something very briefly about the global crisis. And it is really a very brief heads up. It would appear, at least to me, that where we have now reached with the global crisis is the place where the perpetrators of this crisis wanted us to land. It was their main destination. Not a good place, indeed a deadly place. And most may not see it yet. But where we have reached right now, in my view, is the place where those who have faith and those who believe must now trust only Almighty God. We can only trust the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the one who made a way across the raging Red Sea so that the Israelites could cross on dry land at the bottom of that sea. That God, indeed the only God, only He can take us through what we have entered and what we want to pass through. And those of us who continue to trust in science, who continue to trust in CNN and major world news networks and even local ones, those ones, I can only tell you one thing, that you do so at your own peril. Right, back to Lamu. Now, on the evening of June 6th, 2019, humble fisherman Lali Omar had an emotional reunion with his daughter, who lives in the UK with her mother and whom he had not seen for a very long time. And this happy celebration was taking place at a very popular spot in Lamu known as Peponi Restaurant, and it was all going down right at the poolside, a very popular spot in Lamu for those who have been there. And of course, Bwana Omar had no idea that his life was about to change very dramatically. He was about to meet with destiny. Because at another table in the same restaurant was seated heiress billionaire Tecra Muigai, daughter of the owners of the famous, or shall I say infamous, Keroche breweries based in Naivasha. Now in Kenya, people are very fond of dismissing relationships that tend to take off like a rocket, if I can put it like that. And they say it is all witchcraft. Huyo mzee lazima alitumia madawa. That's what they say. They forget that it is very possible for two human beings to meet and for their souls to click and to rhyme so well that the rest of us can never even begin to understand. About 15 years ago, I was involved in what I can term a research project, which was years ahead of its time, because at that time social media was not active. All we had was that people could chat on Yahoo Mail or Gmail and send each other their photographs through email attachments. And the mind-boggling thing I discovered was that relationships that start online and have their foundations online, as long as both parties are brutally honest, tend to be very deep and very strong. Now, I hope I don't lose you. Because we all know the disadvantages of online relationships. Many of them have ended up tragically. I know all that. But just focus on what we found out. And remember, this is a situation where both couples are brutally honest to each other. You see, people who tend to be very shy in real life open up much more easily when the conversation is going on online. They tend to bare their souls much more frequently. And the end result is that the two individuals end up knowing each other so well, extremely well, even before they meet in person. The problem with starting a relationship by meeting in person is that first looks can be very deceiving. It is easy to miss good qualities in each other, etc., etc. Bottom line, in that particular project, we witnessed at least 2 or 3 couples who were made for each other, soulmates if you like, coming together. My point is that usually in this life, there are very many barriers that make it very difficult, almost impossible, for couples who are made for each other to ever meet. There are class barriers, financial barriers, and very unfortunately, in some African countries, including Kenya, tribal barriers. Stuff which our maker does not consider or even think about when hiding a man's rib somewhere in a certain woman. Now, from what we know so far, Tecra Muigai, the late, was a rebel, the black sheep in the family. Psychologically, left with nothing else to lean on in society, these kind of people normally go all out to gain something called happiness in this life. Bottom line, there could be another explanation apart from madawa or witchcraft to this unlikely but very happy couple. Now, according to residents of Lamu, this couple would often be seen walking around hand in hand without caring, because naturally this is one couple that people are bound to stare at. A 50-something-year-old man, complete with an overgrown white beard, and a much younger, bubbly girl. That seems odd, out of place, not normal. And maybe it would be much more understandable if the man was the billionaire. But in this case, it was the other way around. It was the woman who came from a rich, famous family in Kenya. But as they say, good things hardly last on this earth. Because after only 10 months of bliss, the relationship was shattered in a most dramatic manner. And indeed, in a very tragic way. Because on April 23rd this year, Tecra Muigai is said to have fallen down a flight of stairs and was very badly hurt. And although she was flown to Nairobi and straight into Nairobi Hospital, she sadly succumbed to her injuries and left us. And now her man, Lali Omar, is behind bars. He hasn't been charged yet, but it seems that he could be charged with having something to do with the death of Tecra, which he says is a double tragedy for him. Yeah, because he's still mourning the woman he loved. Now, according to Bwana Omar, on the fateful night, he went to bed early and left Tecra alone, consuming huge amounts of alcohol. He says he retired to bed at 1 a.m. And indeed, in some holiday destinations and coastal towns like Lamu, this can be early. He was then woken up by a very loud thud, followed by a scream, a single scream. And as he woke up, he looked where he expected to see Tecra asleep, and the place was empty. And he realized that she was at the bottom of the stairs, very badly hurt. Now, currently there are no commercial flights, but Bwana Omar flew with Tecra all the way to Nairobi and to the hospital on an emergency evacuation flight. And interestingly, Bwana Omar later learned that Tecra had actually had a long phone conversation with her sister on that fateful night at around 2:30 a.m. Obviously, what was discussed in that conversation will be of great interest to investigators. But obviously, one of the biggest problems investigators will have here is being able to find a motive, if they want to pin murder charges on Bwana Omar. Admittedly, it was a very strange accident. Even if somebody's drunk, it was a very strange accident. But still, even being able to prove that it was homicide is also going to be an uphill task for investigators. But my prayer, and I believe the prayer of many Kenyans, is that the truth will come out, and that Bwana Lali Omar's suffering, if he's innocent, will come to an end as soon as possible. The lesson here is for those who are still single. Those who are hitched, it is too late. And the lesson is, be alert when looking for your missing rib or looking for the source of your rib. And you will need spiritual eyes for this one, because they could be right under your nose and you've not yet seen them. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.